is Laleh Haverim, and we are here at the Israeli Consulate on Wilshire and San Vicente Boulevard.
Well, first of all, I think the blockade is illegal to begin with, and you can listen to Israel saying, we have every right to have the blockade, but if you listen to Amnesty International, they say that the blockade is collective punishment, which according to the 4th Geneva Convention is in fact illegal.
Until I think people on the Palestinian side can kind of understand Israel's perspective in the sense that they feel like they have a responsibility to defend their citizens from rocket attacks, suicide bombings, or whatever other form of terrorism they're getting. And what I think people do need to understand with the blockade is when it comes down to international law, collectively, everything Israel did was legitimate. Everyone has to defend themselves, and nobody wants to die, and nobody wants to lose people. And I think that if Israel hadn't done what they did, we would have been mourning deaths on our side, because that would have been the counter to what happened on that boat.
Basically, I thought they should have just let the ship go through, okay? It's very clear that there was aid. It was aid. It's very clear. They're saying that there was weapons on the ship, knives and stuff like that.
On their ship, there was knives, sticks, slingshots, and all this information's on YouTube. You go there, they film themselves. They have their own cameras on themselves because they want to film.
Okay, you know what? If you want to make the argument, that's fine, but how effective are knives against the Israeli army? I mean, do you actually think Hamas is going to use knives against the Israeli army? Not one rocket, not one gun, none of those things have been found on that ship. So to say that this wasn't a humanitarian convoy is just a lie.
The people on board the ship were saying insightful chants about remember the Jews of Khaybar. Every missile from Iran, from Lebanon, from Syria are all called Khaybar 1, Khaybar 2, Khaybar 3, all these missiles. Because they want to remember the day that they killed all the Jews in Saudi Arabia. So why would they say this if they're on a peaceful boat? As nothing else said, this is not a peaceful, this is a hate boat.
To protest the criminal, brutal, barbaristic, unbelievable actions that Israel has engaged in.
It was unhumanitarian. I mean, these are people trying to help someone else, and then they blatantly murdered them. So, yeah, what they did was very wrong.
There were 6 ships, 5 of them agreed, to let Israel search. Israel did search, no problems. 1 ship, I guess they wanted to be smart, they wanted to prove a point, they wanted to provoke all this, which they have. Israel landed on the ship with no weapons, okay? They had a paintball gun, and every single commando in every single army usually has, a safety gun in their shoe. So Israel went on, the Israeli soldiers started getting beat up with crowbars, bats, knives. Why would all this stuff on the ship if it was humanitarian? But they saw, one soldier got thrown off from the 2nd deck onto the bottom deck. They obviously had to protect themselves, so they did what they had to do. Israel, they're not bad people. They're not bad. They're just soldiers trying to protect their country.
If Gaza is not occupied, then what right does Israel have to say that you're not allowed to bring this stuff into Gaza? Now, there's two choices Israel has to make. Either say Gaza is occupied still, which it is, because obviously they control every single port. They control everything that goes in and goes out. If Gaza is occupied, then you are responsible for the well-being of the people inside. And if Gaza is not occupied, then you have to lift the blockade and let other people help the people of Gaza.
I don't really think that there's a lack of humanitarian aid going into the Gaza Strip. I think that there's 15,000 tons of humanitarian aid is sent in from Israel every single week. But I do think that every extra aid helps. Anything that can go in will obviously help the people and help them get out of the economic situation that they're in.
These are my grandchildren. They have milk, they have medicine, they have what they need. But do the kids in Palestine have what they need? Do the kids in Gaza have what they need? No.
I believe in the blockade. I think that the Hamas getting weapons in Gaza would be seriously detrimental for Israel. If this was solely a humanitarian aid mission, and these people support Hamas and support this government, why, when their aid that they tried to bring in, even though it wasn't able to be brought in directly to Gaza through the port of Gaza, when it was brought in by Israel through the legal channels, why it was denied by Hamas?
Well, I don't speak for Hamas. I'm not a Hamas supporter, so I don't know. I presume that it's because they were protesting against what happened. I think I also heard that they said that they don't want to, they're not going to accept it until they get all the aid. But I don't speak for Hamas. Hamas doesn't speak for me, so I don't know why they didn't accept it. But I could see the irony in, okay, you just killed the people on it, and now you're gonna come give it to us, and we're supposed to thank you. It is a form of, resistance.
I'm on the side for justice, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Like this specific situation, it's not even just like Israel-Palestine thing. It was a simple, it's injustice. these people honestly know that what their nation is doing is unjust. And why can't they just admit that, you know? Why do they have to support everything they do blindly? You're killing people on a boat for no reason. You're boarding a boat in international waters. You have a blockade on a place, they can't get anything, you know? Just decades of injustice. Why do you have to support it blindly?
But I do think that a lot of those people were peace activists and really did just want to bring humanitarian aid to the Palestinians. And I wonder why, when Hamas rejected the aid, why no one said to the peace activists, you know, are you angry about the fact that all of that humanitarian aid that you were bringing in was now rejected by not the Israelis, but by the Palestinians themselves? Not necessarily the people, but their government. Their government rejected that aid. They should have accepted it. And it says a lot about Hamas. And that question needs to be posed in the international media. Why is no one else outraged about the fact that Hamas turned down that aid that was collected by those humanitarians?
If the Israelis really want to coexist with the Palestinians, they have to recognize their legitimate aspirations and recognize that, indeed, this is also their homeland, and let them return to their homes, hopefully. See, something that baffles me until this day is that we've landed a man on the moon, and, you know, all this technological marvel around us, but we still haven't lived to just learn to just live with each other.
You killer, you son of a... Go back there and see what they're gonna do to you, piece of shit! What the fuck you think you are? You're nobody! You're nobody! Go back to your run.